The Wastelands of Fallout are home to some extremely dangerous creatures, whether they're mutated beasts developed from pre-war governments or are grotesque abominations whose origins are relatively unknown. The following 7 monsters are some of the most lethal in the series. So, let's take a look at some of the most deadly creatures that are lurking throughout the Wastelands of Fallout. Shrouded in mist, fog crawlers are some of the toughest enemies in the Fallout universe. They are large, mutated crustaceans that live in coastal regions near the deep fog, and are rarely found elsewhere. A fight against a fog crawler is a battle not many walk away from. They use their deep, booming vocalization to show their presence, and their sharp talons to rip at an enemy. They have a strong outer shell, giving them advanced resistance to attacks, so killing it is often impossible without high-powered weapons. Old Longfellow, an old man in a pub called The Last Plank by the Pier, will share stories of a unique fog crawler named Shipbreaker inhabiting Mount Desert Island. Shipbreaker earned her name by being the most ferocious fog crawler in all of Fallout history, when broken ships and dead sailors began to wash up on the shores almost regularly. Unlike most fog crawlers, Shipbreaker doesn't kill for survival or food. No. She kills because she enjoys it. With an extraordinary strong shell that protects her, an extremely high damage output, and a seemingly never-ending health pool, Shipbreaker is definitely one of the strongest creatures in all of Fallout. Next on our list are the Super Mutants. Super Mutants are one of the most notorious Fallout creatures, and while they can give trouble to many new adventurers, the more experienced adventurers can make short work of them. However, Super Mutants are just the tip of the iceberg, and Fallout 3 introduced us to the monstrosity that is the Super Mutant Behemoth. Towering over anyone in its path, with skin-like green radiation, these behemoths are truly some of the most terrifying creatures in all of the Wasteland. Unlike most super mutants, they are unable to speak and have completely devolved into animals, expressing themselves with only roars. If you happen to come across one of these creatures and succumb to it, the last thing you'll see is their horrible teeth as they eat you. That's if you don't get completely bludgeoned by their heavy weaponry, which is usually a fire hydrant. Or worse yet, they've also been known to carry adventurers in the cage on their back, so that they can dip them into a pool of forced evolutionary virus, or FEV, which can turn them into super mutants themselves. Few creatures, real or imagined, terrify West Virginians quite like the Wendigo, possessing alarming speed, razor-sharp claws, and an insatiable hunger for raw flesh. It is truly the stuff of nightmares. That is one of the blurbs from Fallout 76's loading screens on Wendigos, and it couldn't be more true. Most Wendigos are a fearsome sight on their own, a bony, skeletal being with little hair and a thirst for blood. The story of how Wendigos came to be is much more horrifying than the creature itself. A lot of details change from person to person in the Wasteland, but one thing remains common. All Wendigos start as people who engaged in cannibalism. It is suspected that the radiation, combined with excess amounts of human flesh, could be the cause behind their mutation. However, an important thing to note is that not all Wendigos are the same, with some being more grotesque and dangerous than the rest. I'm referring to the Wendigo Colossus. They are much larger and more powerful than the standard Wendigo. Plus, they are way spookier to look at, with 3 heads conjoined to 1 mutated body. Its horrifying scream is blood-curdling. It can cause anyone who hears it go into a fit of dismay. Earl Williams, the most dangerous Wendigo Colossus, can be found in the Monaga mine in Appalachia. It was said that when he was human, he worked at that mine before the Great War, but was replaced by auto miners by the owners. While he was working in the mine, the entrance was blown up, leaving him and others trapped inside. They had nothing to eat, so they were forced to cannibalize the dead to stay alive. Over time, their sanity slipped, and after the bombs dropped, Earl would become a Wendigo Colossus, forever trapped as an abomination in the mine. Deathclaws are highly dangerous creatures found in the Commonwealth, on the islands, and in Nuka World in 2287. Although common, the story behind them is extremely interesting. The pre-war US government engineered deathclaws using a mix of animal DNA, attempting to make a cheap replacement for human soldiers. After the Great War, these deathclaws found their way into the wild and quickly spread across the continent, becoming one of the apex predators of Fallout. With armored scaly skin and dagger-like claws, deathclaws are known for ripping apart their prey. Most deathclaws can even communicate with each other using growls and body language, while some can even mimic human voices like a parrot. On top of this, others have a much higher intelligence, being able to fully communicate with humans. It goes without saying, deathclaws are dangerous. However, there are variations, which are even stronger. From the mythic deathclaw to even the legendary one, they are not an easy foe to fight. One of the most challenging deathclaws to fight is named Rar. Located inside a cave near Boxwood Hotel, he would strike fear in the hearts of would-be hunters. With its lightning-fast attacks, high damage, and devastating claws, he's killed countless amounts of wanderers and waits for his next victim. Now, Mothmen are some of the strangest and creepiest creatures in all of Fallout. It is said they observe humans from a distance, always watching from the shadows. At a glance, they appear as if they were a cloaked figure. However, Mothmen are a mutated insect with leathery wings and large glowing eyes. Even though they don't tend to attack humans, they will defend themselves if provoked. Strangely enough, these creatures are worshipped by a cult named the Cult of the Mothman, which was started years before the Great War. In the moments before the nukes were dropped, one of the cultists even claimed to see the Mothman himself. While it is unknown whether that was just a hallucination or whether the Mothman existed before the Great War, one thing is clear: you don't want to mess with these creatures. The Jersey Devil is a creature of myth, one which would terrify even the bravest explorer. The legend behind this monster states that a woman who was having her 13th child hated her ever-expanding family and cursed her unborn baby. She claimed that the child was going to be the devil himself. Later, she would give birth to a dragon-like creature that immediately fled into the Pine Barrens just outside of Atlantic City. After the Great War, when a red, disfigured dragon creature appeared, it was given the name Jersey Devil. In its nest, it creates offspring called Lesser Devils, which are incredibly strong. Lesser Devils are in such demand because the high rollers of Atlantic City love drinking their blood, because it produces some narcotic-like effects. During the Sins of the Father questline, the demon only gets weakened after a long battle, and it ends up escaping, meaning that this creature is still roaming free in the wasteland. Gojira is an unused creature found in Fallout New Vegas game files. The model is identical to that of a fire gecko, but triple the size, making it roughly equal to a super mutant behemoth in height. The curious thing about the Gojira is the fact that it was deemed so strong that the developers removed him from the game and hid him in the game files. Gojira has a unique fire breath weapon called the Gojira Flame, which can kill anything that is placed near it. Even though Gojira isn't found anywhere in Fallout, players have still been able to find ways to spawn it using console commands to see how truly powerful it is.